Having had such a beautiful life, everything just changed when my mom passed away. I remember very well. That night is clear for me. I remember her losing her mind and screaming and shouting and kind of panicking that last night. And then neighbors coming in with a car because she kind of lost her mind and took her to the hospital. But the clear words I remember is her asking what will happen of my children, what will happen to my children and my home. And she was in pain and she was in tears. And I felt helpless. There's nothing I would do. So family members came and neighbors around came, took her to the hospital. And the next time I saw her was 3 days after she was taken to the hospital. But the sad thing is she could not recognize me. And that is the last time I saw her. I was born in a very beautiful town, Nanyuki, Laikipia County. It's a very small town, by a beautiful mother and a father then, who is not my real father, but I knew him as my father. I remember living a very good life with my mom. She really took care of us. It was many years ago when there was a lot of poverty in Kenya, but my mom worked hard to make sure that we had all the basic needs. And she would do everything to protect us. She took care of us. She loved us. She took us to church, though she was not born again, and her work was to sell alcohol. But to us, we saw this loving and amazing mother that loved us genuinely. And she sacrificed her life to make sure that we lived a good life. Having had such a beautiful life, everything just changed when my mom passed away. It hit me later when all the burial is happening and everything was happening. I never understood what that was and the magnitude of losing a mother until now, when I started living with my auntie and her true colors revealed themselves. And my experience with my auntie was hell on earth. First of all, she never saw anything positive about me. She was always pointing out on how I'm not doing things right, how I'm not, acting the way I should be acting, comparing me with my age mates that were living with their parents and they were living a better life. So, beating me all the time. And I can't explain why she hated me so much, because I don't remember any positive thing that she ever did to me. I studied in Mwenja Primary School. It was a good school, I would say, and I looked forward to going to school every morning because that's where I would find my peace. At least for the 8 hours that I was in school, I had a good time. My teachers were friendly, they taught me, they trained me, and I remember the thing that used to break my heart is hearing the evening bell that this is the time to go home, because I would not imagine where I was going to. I didn't have a place that I would call home. It was a place of pain and tears and fights, and words. I was drained emotionally, but my time in school was fun. I would go to school without food, but the fun thing is I would wait for the kids to throw their foods and then I would go and pick. And by the time I'm going home, I'm full. Looking at this dam right now, my mind is battling between seeing the beauty of the dam and my past experiences. And the quick experience and memory that I have is when I once came to this dam and my thought was, let me just commit suicide. So my intention was to throw myself in the dam. But luckily there were people who were coming to fish and they saw me from a distance, shouted at me. I thought I was safe because I had looked everywhere and I realized there was no one watching me. But how these guys came and rescued me is what I can't explain up to date. I remember having countless nights where she would send me out to sleep outside. And one night I remember looking at the sky, looking at the stars, and thinking, Mommy, why did you leave me? And I thought my mom was one of the stars. It brought comfort, but it was so painful to spend my nights outside, especially as a girl. So those are some of the experiences, waking up and it's cold. I had chest problems. I was anemic. I would faint all the time because I was malnourished. And then because it continued for a very long time, I had to find another place to go and hide. And that was my church, where I used to go for Sunday school. So I'd run there, hide at night, and sometimes sweep the church and clean the church, and then wake up early in the morning. My auntie had to find me behind the kitchen, then go behind the kitchen, open, so that by the time she's waking up, I'm there. Then she would open the kitchen, I'd go in, light up the fire, warm the water for them again, make sure their tea is ready, prepare them to go to work, my auntie and my cousin to go to school, and that was my life.
The first time I met Maggie, we had gone to her village. We had taken her little sister who was in an orphanage. We took her little sister to go visit family. And Maggie was living with her auntie because the parents were deceased.
I still remember that day when ITHM or Mom came to visit our school. And she came with my last born sister and a few other people. And it felt like a dream. The way you try to pinch yourself to see whether you're dreaming or you're experiencing the reality. That is how it felt.
First time I met her, she had a big hole in the back of her dress. And she was very nervous. She hadn't really talked to a white person before. And she went to run to get her auntie. And as she's walking down the road, I see this big gaping hole in her dress. And I was like, I just want to pick her up and put her in my car.
I cannot explain the joy that I felt on that day. And I remember the warm hug that I received from Mom, Jennifer. It was so warm and genuine, and I felt so much love. These people, I did not know them, but I felt like I had known them for a long time. I felt loved. I felt cared for. Within those few minutes that we were together, I felt like God had finally remembered me. I felt like I'm no longer rejected. Even though there were few minutes filled with love and so much joy and so much hope and just amazing feeling.
It was just a miracle to watch the transformation over all of these years, to go to take this child that had very little education, very little knowledge about the outside world, and watched her transformation, really her turn into a butterfly. And we've seen it with hundreds of children. Maggie's just one of so many stories that we get to highlight. And it's possible because people care, because people give, because people pray, and it really takes a team of people. And because of that team of people, and obviously the grace of God, we see all these little children come from desperation and destitution to living full lives and gaining dignity and finding out their value and their worth.
So what was just a visit of my sister coming to visit the village after a very long time turned out to give me an opportunity to also go to school. So my sister's visit and my mom's visit to my village is where now my life began. Again, I thank God for ITHM, and I thank God for God, because in partnership with God and ITHM, I am living this life today because they all played their parts. I imagine if I never got an opportunity to go to campus, I would have not met my husband. And so I would not be living the life that I am living today. Biggest impact that I received with ITHM, and I will forever speak about this, maybe in the whole world, was giving me the gift of education. Because it is through education that I am who I am today. I have worked with other organizations. I once worked as a teacher in an international school, and then I worked with an NGO that was combating sexual abuse and exploitation, and I got a lot of experience from there. And right now, by God's grace, I have started my own school. I knew this was my dream. I didn't know when it would happen, but the fact that the impact that I received from ITHM was so much that I saw that the best gift that you can give a child is education. I knew that one day I would want to change lives through education. And look at what God has done. We started Leshem Academy together with my husband. Leshem means precious gems. It's a Hebrew word. My assignment there is to make sure that these children live their purpose, to make sure that they align with God's will in their lives. Apart from just teaching them mathematics and science, which they can receive anywhere, we are teaching them about Jesus. And our desire is to see that a generation is changed, that we raise children that will love God and serve God in their generation, children that will change the world, and children that will impact and raise godly families.
My hope is that when people encounter Maggie's story, that they're inspired to know that they can change a life. They can literally change a life, and it doesn't take a lot. It takes a lot of people giving a little to do a lot. A lot of people giving a lot does even more. And our hope is to continue to grow, continue to impact not only the children in our care, but our whole community, because we know the ripple effects that will happen as people stand together hand in hand. And we know that ITHM is making an impact, and all of those who are involved with us are making an impact, and we're so very grateful. Our call to action is for you to get involved, be involved with us. We invite you to be a part of the ITHM family if you aren't yet. For those who are involved, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And for those who are interested, please join hands with us and help us make an impact for eternity.